welcome back. Today we're looking at the Air Skiff. So this is a dreadnought Air Skiff, which was first released in the United States in 1987. It was also sold in 88 and 89. It did come with the dreadnought pirate Zanzibar, or Zanzibar, however you want to pronounce that correctly. Um, sometimes I just get them wrong. All right, looking at Zanzibar. You know, he has that iconic kind of pirate look to him in so many respects. And he was ex- uh, released exclusively with the air skiff. So, uh, you know, just how they packaged it, not really a bad thing because I mean, when you look at the price here, when we get there down below, it's not bad. So, okay, so we have a nice front view from yojo.com. That's where we get all this stuff. It's just that they have a ton of ads. We have election cycle going on here, so there's ads everywhere. Um, so going with that, we have a nice front view and a nice rear view to our air skiff. And then we also get a top down view as well as our isometric views here. Uh, this really does encompass kind of where I was going with the whole thing of this is a G.I. Joe Star Wars kind of overlap here. So, kind of a repulsor lift technology being done with the air skiff in order to keep it up here. Um, Looking at this, we have a response feedback input gain control, carbon fiber steel core varia pitch propeller, variable stability system, duct shrouding, hydroelectric feel and trim control, the M118 coupled pantograph sight 7.62 millimeter machine gun. So these are essentially M60s. We have a delta shaped primary lifting foil. Let's see, we do have the Air 99 terminal homing sensor missiles, aluminum epoxy winglets, flow pack ergo fit seat, aluminum epoxy semi monocliture, fuselage, secondary direct lifting vanes. So, in some regards, it's almost like we're taking from the fan drive to lift down, but I think it would make a little bit more sense if we just said it had the repulsor lift technology. Uh, we have stub aft landing fins, the 3000 psi hydraulic duct rotation system, and 800 bhp skiff shaft turbine engine. So, uh, it's an interesting take, and vehicles like this being kind of more in the science fantasy realm, perfectly fine. Uh, it adds extra character to you know the Cobra vehicles, even when it's done for GI Joe. For some of the, we start getting some of these vehicles that are kind of out there. Um, in a lot of regards, growing up, I wasn't as much of a fan because I wanted it more based on actual physical stuff that we have here in the real world. But, just being off and saying, sometimes we can be a little on the silly side and we can let our imaginations go and we can just kind of do things. It does fit very well. And it's not a bad machine in all real respects here. So easily broken and or lost pieces, the propeller, the directional vanes, the guns, the missiles of the air skiff are unfortunately easily lost. This has been featured in trading cards, comic books, cartoons, and commercials. Here we have one of the Marvel uh, comic books, and there's the air skiff there, as well as our commercial plot. Now, the original price back in '87 was $4.29, so that's not bad. You're getting a figure and a small vehicle, um, a nice kind of army builder in a way. Although, I mean, you're getting a named character, but you can, if you got one or if you got two or whatever. I think most people back then just would have grabbed the one and said, "Hey, it's just his own personal." But they're interesting vehicles to be able to throw out here. So with that, it is. It's just an oddball thing, and someone's personal design. They engineered it, and here we are. All right. So when we bring this into the greater GI Joe Star Wars universe here, um, looking at everything, this is going to be at speed or scale. I think that makes a lot of sense. Not knowing exactly how big I should make this, I kept it about 10 feet, so about 3 meters. Only a crew of one. I didn't think it would be appropriate to have any passengers. Not saying that maybe they couldn't or something. I really just don't know. Um, it's not one of those that I really remember seeing much of. So I just don't know if they really had people piling on here or not. So I left it no passengers. A cargo capacity of about 44 pounds, 20 kilograms. I gave it a one half coverage, just being generous here. Altitude range about 1 to 3 meters. We have a maneuverability of 3D plus 2, so kind of giving it a little extra maneuverability here. And it has about a move of 50 miles per hour or 80 kilometers an hour. Uh, Seeing that it's at speed or scale, maybe this is a little generous, maybe not. I don't know. I gave it a body strength of 4D. I figured this is going to be nothing but a lot of roll cage and that, so maybe it would be kind of beefed up a little bit to kind of keep the engine nice and safe. Weapon wise, we have two missiles, so I'm just leaving it as just base missiles. I think it's just going to make it easier if we just leave it as missiles. Their speed or scale, they have a fire control of 3D plus 2. Actually, I think I should really kind of, I think I was being a little too generous because you're going to have to aim this right there. Well, it did say heat seeking, so okay, 3D plus 2. That's what I was kind of going off of. I'm sorry. And a damage of 7D per missile. So, it's kind of something lethal when you start looking at towards tanks and everything else. Uh, so it's got some bite there. Now, we have heavy laser cannons. Let's see, they're front facing. These are going to be speeder. Um, da, 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 da. Because these are 7.62, so your standard M60. If you're going up against regular vehicles, I think 5D is going to be great. Actually, and I think I messed this up because there's two of them, so uh, I'm going to put that in here. Dual heavy laser cannon, and I think what we're going to do is we're going to put this down at personnel scale. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to up the damage by 1D because there's two of them and not one. So let's just keep things honest here. So if you're shooting at people, this is something kind of lethal. If fire control, I have a 2D. Actually, I think the fire controls probably should be put down to 1D because this isn't going to be a control assisted. This is really just you aiming down. So I'll give a 1D for that. But yeah, I think that kind of really encompasses a little bit better. Sometimes, and I've said this before, as I'm really making things up, when I'm first knocking it in there, I'm like, yeah, okay, seems about right. And then when I'm thinking about it later, it's like, maybe I'm a little off here. So, and as always, when you look at the stats here, if you take this and you say, I need this to be at whatever else, and you need to change it, by all means, go ahead and change it. This is the fun of it all. Um, if you take this and put it into a campaign you want to make and you have it in here, or if it's something that I'm doing and suddenly now I need to change it, by all means, we can always just change it. But if you're actually looking at this for a possibility for a role playing game out of the G.I. Joe using the D6 Star Wars, this gives us a nice, at least, starting point to say, here we are. I think this should do, and we can work with it. So, I know here shortly at the time of recording this, we're going to be getting into the next month, and I'm trying to figure out exactly how I'm going to work in doing some Star Trek stuff as well. So I don't know if I can get 3 videos in a day. Sometimes just 2 videos a day is kind of hectic, but we'll see what we can do here, and we'll get going. I really don't want to drop the Star Wars stuff, and I don't really want to drop the GI Joe stuff, but I want to bring Star Trek into our Star Wars GI Joe universe. We're going to eventually expand all this in here. We're going to get crazy big. It doesn't mean that there's not other areas and other avenues and stuff like that to bring it all in together. At one time, keep this in mind, when Marvel was the big dog for all the comic books, we had Transformers. There is Transformers and Star Trek all together. Remember, they also had G.I. Joe, because there's also Transformers and G.I. Joe. And I think they were also doing Star Wars. So it's not saying it's not an impossible thing to have all this go together. It doesn't necessarily mean it's all on the Earth that we are thinking of. It could be other alternate Earths that someone else is saying that it's their planet and we have these things going on in these other areas. Whatever. So, just a heads up, just trying to let you guys know, we're going to bring in some other stuff here. We're going to keep going. It's just that, there's a ton of stuff out there, all my loves and interests and all that stuff. We're going to try and wrap all that stuff in here. We're going to have one heck of a hodgepodge universe, so we're going to go from there. Thanks for watching. It's always wonderful having you here. I hope you're having a wonderful day. We'll see you in the next video.